Solo travel is so dangerous. Just kidding. It's really not. It's honestly one of the best things you could possibly do as a solo female. I would highly recommend booking yourself a solo trip because you learn so much about yourself, you become so comfortable with yourself, and you just like to learn to accept yourself in all your own glory. And you become so much more in tune with what you actually want in life. And in this video, I'm gonna go over 8 questions that I've gotten from other females who have wanted to know a little bit more about solo traveling. You know, they've been thinking about it, considering it, maybe just been a little bit nervous. So I am here to answer some of those burning questions that you guys have had. It's Olivia. Now, in case you don't know, I've actually been to 52 countries, and at least half of them I've been to completely by myself. So I'm here to help you, fellow traveler, maybe wannabe nomad looking to do the same. Now, on Instagram, and if you're not already following me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. It's probably where I'm the most active on social media. I asked my followers what questions they actually had around solo travel, especially as a female. So many women have come up to me just completely baffled by the fact that I've traveled to so many places, and a lot of them just completely by myself. Like, I'm literally heading to Portugal here in a week and a half, and I don't know anyone there, and I'm just going for a few months. And I've heard from so many of you that you want to go out there and travel by yourself, maybe do a solo trip, but are a little bit nervous or anxious about it. And so I want to answer some of those burning questions that you had. And make sure to stay till the last question, because that is literally one of my favorite and most common questions that I get all of the time. So you gotta stay till the end so you don't miss it. Also, if you've been subscribed for a while, you probably know that not only am I a world traveler, I'm also a real estate investor and business owner. And the cool thing about the way that I've structured my businesses is so that I can manage them from anywhere in the world, particularly with the help of Hospitable. Hospitable is a cool property management system, and it allows me to manage all of my properties from one single app. It takes care of the majority of my guest communication. It syncs all of my listings between my different platforms, and it even helps communicate with my cleaners to make sure that everyone's on the same page, so I don't need to be there in the middle of everything sending messages to people. So if you're looking to get into real estate investing, you should definitely look into this app, and do not worry, I'll make sure to leave a link in the description, and you'll get 25% off of your first 3 months, so it's a pretty darn good steal, not gonna lie. Okay, let's get right into it. I've got my laptop here so I can read the questions that people ask me. So question number 1. How do you know to trust the ride from the airport to your hotel your first time in a country? Now, I've gotten pretty good at this, so I don't really do as much research nowadays than I used to. But before, I would always go online. There were so many blogs online where you can do some research to see how people are usually getting from the airport to their actual destination. Uber has been pushed out to so many different places now, so that is one option if the country allows it. In some places, Uber is banned, and in some places it's illegal, so just be careful with that. Make sure to do your research beforehand. In some places, you'll want to take a taxi or a bus, but there are so many resources online, and every country is going to be different, so I'd really recommend you go there, look it up, and see what other people are doing too. Question number 2. So I actually compiled a few similar questions here. Do you set up a daily itinerary for yourself, or do you just wing it? Do you use an agent, or do you research an area yourself and set your own excursions? Do you set up your own city tours, or do you try to join a group and meet others? So I kind of do a bit of both. I rarely am gonna have a full itinerary of exactly what I'm doing every single day, every hour of the day. I don't really roll that way. I like a balance. I'm a Libra. I'm a balance gal. Sometimes I have things planned out, excursions planned. Other times, I just kind of like to wing it and see where the day goes. Usually what I'll do for each location that I'm going to is have a few top spots or highlights that I know I really want to hit, but I don't really care how the rest of the trip goes. I know too that I will meet so many people that may completely change the course or the trajectory of my trip. I don't necessarily want to bind myself to do certain things. Now, I definitely don't use an agent. I personally just like to do my own research. I know what I like when it comes to travel now. Like, I'm not a big museum gal, and a lot of people are, and a lot of people when they travel, nothing wrong with that. They like to go to a lot of museums, and that makes me want to pull my hair out. So I generally go on Instagram, I go on blogs, and just try to find certain things in certain places that I know I want to go to, things I want to do, places I want to see. I also really like to make sure that I have a few free days where I can kind of just do whatever the heck I want. I mean, that's the beauty of vacation sometimes, is you don't have to have every single little thing planned out to the T. Question number 3. How do you get around without knowing the language? Okay, y'all, we are in a beautiful technology area. Let me tell you, Google Maps is bae, and so is Google Translate. With Google Maps, you can literally download maps of wherever you're going, anywhere in the world. You can download it in Wi-Fi, so let's say you don't even have an international cellular plan. You can download it in Wi-Fi, and then you just have your map. It's like having a physical copy of your map, but Google Maps instead, so even better. And then if I don't actually speak the language, Google Translate makes things so much easier. I think even now you can just take pictures of writing, like let's say it's a subway sign or something like that, and it will translate it for you, which is wild. I don't know if that's actually in Google Translate. It might be in a different app, but I know that it's possible. Also, I do speak a lot of languages. I speak English, obviously. Well, kind of. Portuguese and Spanish fluently, and then I understand French and Italian, and I'm very mediocre at them, but I'm getting better, okay? So whenever I'm in an English-speaking country, Spanish-speaking country, Portuguese-speaking country, I'm generally totally fine, even in a French country and an Italian country. The only Italian country is Italy, I'm pretty sure. But when I'm somewhere like Thailand, I don't speak Thai, or in Morocco, where they speak Arabic, yes, it is a lot more challenging. But the thing is, especially if you speak English, you'll generally probably find at least one person somewhere who kind of speaks English, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to still be able to navigate yourself around the city or around the country. Also, just a reminder, if you're liking this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and the little bell notification button too. I know this is kind of a different video, but I honestly really like these Q&A style, but I don't know if you actually like this Q&A style. So the only way for me to know that you like this kind of a video is if you hit that like and subscribe button, and I can actually track and see the numbers. Helping and inspiring folks to travel more is such a big passion of mine, but I don't want to just be creating things that I want. I want to make sure that you guys actually want to see these videos too. Okay, back to the questions. Question number 4. What are all of your best safety tips for taking Ubers and staying in Airbnbs? So y'all, I'm not gonna lie, it's really not that much different from anywhere else, including your hometown. So I really don't have too much to say about this. Research your area, research where you're going. Maybe a good thing might be to tell someone where you're going. I know my parents love to have my list of accommodations, even though they have no idea where in the world I am. Uber safety and Airbnb safety really is the same anywhere in the world that you're going to. You just might have to put a little bit of extra time towards research for that area. Okay, question number 5. Do you have any recommendations for insurance and phone services when traveling longer term? Okay, y'all. So I'm not gonna lie. I actually almost never, not never, but kind of never get insurance, travel insurance. I think I'll probably do it this time around because I'm gone for a longer period of time. But you should definitely get travel insurance. It's super cheap. I honestly don't know why I don't get it. I think I just forget most of the time. And to be fair, I do have the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, and that covers a lot of travel insurance, like lost luggage, things like that, except for health insurance. But I do know that Alliance Travel Insurance is probably one of the better international travel insurances out there, and it really is so affordable, so you should definitely look into it, and I should also probably get it for myself. Now, in terms of phone service providers, for the longest time, and this was, I feel like, a thing of the past because people don't really do it anymore, I didn't travel with any cell phone service. I would just go and only use Wi-Fi whenever I was traveling. Now, I can't really do that as much these days because I do have my businesses and I kind of need to be on call for that. Eventually, I'll get to the point where I can kind of just dip out and have other people manage it for me. But for now, I'm kind of a little bit more in the trenches. But so usually if it's a short trip, I've got AT&T. So they have this $10 a day plan where you actually get to keep your service that you have in your home country and use it wherever in the world, or not necessarily wherever, but in a lot of other countries in the world. Some countries don't qualify. This time around, I'm going to be in Portugal for a few months, and I'm actually looking into eSIM cards. I don't have it exactly pinpointed right now, but basically you don't actually have to change the physical SIM card. You have an electronic SIM card, which is a lot cheaper than paying $10 a day because that ends up being like $300 a month. It's only $60 a month, and you can have a really great service provider. And the cool thing is you actually get to keep your number on WhatsApp, so people can communicate to your home number through WhatsApp just totally fine. Question number 6. Do you pay with credit cards or currency while traveling? Okay, guys. Back in the day, and I make it seem like I'm old. I'm not even that old. I've just been traveling for a very long time, literally by myself since I was 13. But back in the day, everything was cash only. So you would bring dollar bills, like stacks of hundreds, with you and go to the exchange counter and exchange all of your dollar bills. Nowadays, I honestly don't usually do that. I'm not really carrying like thousands of dollars in cash. It's also so much easier to steal that. I just go to the ATM, take my credit card or debit card, and take money out if I need cash. Some places don't need cash, especially if you're going around a lot of Europe. You may not even need to take any cash. It's just like the US. Yeah, do the tap thing with the credit card, and that's all you need. But yeah, nowadays, I pay for pretty much everything with my credit card. Once again, I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, one of the best travel credit cards out there. That's something I should also put in my caption so that you can get a startup promotion. But with a Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, there are no international transaction fees, so there's no reason for me not to use it. But if you are going to some places like a lot of South America, there are certain places in Europe, if I'm going to Africa, wherever, I'll probably exchange some money. And I always like to have a little bit of local currency on hand, just in case my credit card gets stolen or something happens. It's nice to have a little bit of extra with you. Question number 7, do you carry anything for protection? So for this one, I actually don't. Now, some people carry pepper spray or a pocket knife. A lot of those things aren't actually allowed in your carry-on, so you gotta put it in your stowaway luggage or buy it when you get to the location. But I find most other places in the world to be way safer than the US. And it's no different than anywhere else in the world. It's don't get yourself in sticky situations. And also be extremely vigilant of your surroundings. Like, if you have the choice of going down a very lit, light, bright road and then going down a tiny little alleyway that's dark, make the right decision. Be aware of your surroundings. And if you can, try and make friends, make a buddy. Try not to travel around every single place all by yourself maybe, but it's really no different than anywhere else. And do your research beforehand so you know what places to avoid and what places to go to. But yeah, I don't carry around any protection. I've never had an issue. Like I said, been to probably 20 or so countries completely by myself and never had an issue. Knock on wood. There's no wood here. Okay, now for my final and favorite question, how do you meet up and connect with either fellow travelers or locals and feel safe doing so? Now, y'all, I love this question, and I feel like it is something that I do very well whenever I travel. So I've got a few tips for you here on how to actually meet people while traveling. So one thing you can do is you can stay at a hostel or some sort of co-living situation. That's probably going to be your easiest way to meet other fellow travelers, and they always have group activities and common spaces, so it kind of fosters that sense of community. There are even now hostels and different co-living situations like Selena and Outside where they have co-working spaces, so great way to meet people through that, especially, with the rise of the digital nomad. Another great way to meet people is to actually do group trips. Like when I was 19, I went to Thailand and I did a group volunteering trip, and we traveled together for 3 weeks, and I actually even met someone who's now such a dear friend of mine. Like, I literally went to her wedding in Spain just a couple of years ago, and we met like 10 years ago. But that is also just such a great way to meet people. Another way to meet people is local events and local meetups. There are always a bunch of different local events happening, so get out there. This is also a great way to meet people who actually live in the place and aren't just travelers. Getting yourself immersed in the culture, you never know who you're gonna meet. Another thing that I absolutely love to do are Airbnb experiences. Now, Airbnb experiences are cool because it's usually locals that are hosting these experiences. And sometimes it's a one-on-one with a local, sometimes it's actually a group. Either way, a great way to just meet people who are out there traveling or hosting, because they're in that space of wanting to get to know and meet people. Like in Tulum, I did an awesome Airbnb experience where I went mezcal tasting and met these awesome people that I spent the whole rest of the week with. And then in Lake Garda, I did this one-on-one really cool vintage car ride around Lake Garda through the country and the hills. And it was just this like one-on-one experience with a local, and I got to do something that most people would never do or never even think to do. And it was such a cool time learning about this guy's culture and his whole entire life. Another great way is more planned group trips or signing up for a retreat. These are just great ways to put yourselves in a community where people are wanting to meet other people. And honestly, one of my favorite ways is just to strike up conversation. Literally in Mexico City, I was at a coffee shop hanging out by myself, just kind of getting some work done, overheard some people who were chit-chatting and kind of butted into their conversation, but they were amazing and they lived in Mexico City. I hung out with them so much that next week and they invited me to go do cool local Mexico City kind of things. So I hope that I made you feel that solo traveling doesn't have to be scary. It's really fun and just such a great way to get out there in the world. And if you want to know the biggest myth about solo travel, make sure you take a look at this video as I'll go over one of my solo travel adventures in Cartagena in Colombia, and I'll dispel one of the biggest misconceptions that people have around solo travel.